Hello, welcome back. Okay, so like I said, we're going to get on with doing some cockpit stuff. So this is already converted to enable poly, and I'm going to change this to cockpit or cabin. See? Or whatever. Just right click. I'm going to isolate this by hiding unselected. Okay, and that just leaves me this one piece here to mess around with. Now then, at the front here, as I've already decided that this is going to be the front of my thing, it's time to start work on. I think I've just, yeah, there we go. Time to start work on selecting the parts we need. So, you'll notice a part just moved there. Delete these. Start by capping, just here. Okay. Now then, I need to add a level of smoothness to the rest of this that I don't currently have. So, what I'm going to do is just collapse this. Well, not collapse that. I'll collapse the inside of it by doing an inset and then collapsing that. Okay, that way it's flat. Now, I need to do a mesh smooth. So, I can use a NURM subdivision for this, which will give it a nice rounded look. If I'm doing that, I really should take the back off first, because that was just to kind of show where the engine was going. There we are. I'll just leave the hole though. Okay, and again, we've got this shape. And now I can start just building what I'm going to need. Easiest way to do that is going to be just selecting all these, like so. You'll notice you can see how many polygons it is now. Now, before, if I come out of NURM subdivision and then go back to this, you can see that if I control select by edge, I just get these ones. Yeah. Then if I go and use NURM subdivision, I've still only got these ones selected. If I don't, then it's going to select all the ones in between as well, and it's going to look a bit like a play school window. People outside the UK will not know what I'm talking about. Don't worry. Okay, what I'm going to do is chamfer these. Now, if I chamfer them, you'll notice that we get this shape going on here. Another option would be to inset. So, I mean, I'm going to leave it entirely up to you which way you want to go with this. I need to keep these edges fairly straight, so what I'm going to do is just collapse this. And it's going to become a lot easier for me to work with if I just move straight into my usual method of working with stuff. So, 3D Palace Turtles making funky sounds. Or was it the dog? Dog. Right then. Back to what I was doing, which was getting rid of bits I don't need. Control backspace, and as you see, I now just had the one poly here. And it's a lot easier doing it this way than doing it the other way around. I'm hitting control and backspace, and that gets rid of the vert as well. See, if I don't, you'll notice that the shape maintains that flex in the middle. There we go, now it's gone. but we're keeping the outside one like that, which is more rounded, yeah? Don't worry if you don't get where I'm coming from. It'll all make sense in the wash, and if it doesn't, too bad. Now then, we've got this quite thick area here, so what I'm going to do is do a swift loop, and just bring that out to about there, like that. Okay, and that gives me this boundary, which is quite a nice one. Now I'm going to select all these parts here. Now if I inset them at the moment, they'll all just inset together. But I can choose to inset them by polygon instead, should I so desire. I'll give you a clue, I do. Click OK. And now I can work on all of these simultaneously as well, which is helpful. I'm going to go straight into bevel mode. Now remember what I said with bevel, we can do chamfering and stuff like that. So I'm going to add a small rim there. Just swear to God, 3ds Max is starting to drive me insane now. Okay, so it's done the inset, but it hasn't actually made them what I wanted. So, and then it turned undo off itself. So well done, 3D Studio Max. If you notice, undo seems to have turned itself off. Best not to speculate what it's up to, really. Now I'm going to extrude back in by normal. That gives me that shape there. And just turn that off. Okay, so now, as you can see, we've got this part starting to come out a lot more deeply. Now we need to adapt this a little bit, so I'm just going to click the grow button, then shrink, and now I've got this part here, which is what I wanted, and I can shift and drag forward and clone it to element, or just detach it. So again, grab this, grow, shrink, detach, and I'm just going to detach as an element, not as a clone. Then I can bring this forward a little bit like that. And then bridge, like so. And that gives us the lip on the front there, which we needed. Alright, I mean, we haven't bothered putting in the maker's marks yet, which are like the panel marks and things, but we'll get to them soon. Now, again, another thing we've got is we've got to do one on the top here, and we've got to do one for the engines. So, now this seems to be an error in 3D Studio Max, so the best thing to do for me is going to be to save as, and I'm going to save this as a workbench. You'll notice my undos have stopped working. And what I'm going to do is just restart Max and put that workbench in. Right, as I suspected, just saving it and restarting Max turned back on my thing that I needed. So, I can now get back to what I was doing, which is just starting to rough out the overall shape of the cabin. Because, you know, you may think to yourself, I don't need that hand-holding, I don't need 3D Studio Max to tell me, you know, what to do and stuff, but trust me, it comes in very helpful. Alright. Now for the top part here, which is curved, there's a couple of ways we can do it, but the actual shape itself breaks flow to a degree, because it's like a lifting lid. If ever you were a kid and you had the Star Wars TIE Fighter, well, one, you were obviously spoiled, and two, it's quite a complicated little array. It's just a little hatch that lifts up at the top. So, angle snap on, just make sure, shift, and do this 90 degrees like that. Clone it to an element, we're not detaching it. And then I can just place it on top a bit like a halo. You see? Doesn't quite fit, but it's getting there. You can adjust the shape of our model's flow a little bit to kind of fit it better. Or just slice across the top and make it that way, although that's going to look messy as hell. So what I'm going to do now is go into the top here and just start randomly deleting polygons until either someone screams at me to stop or until I have a great big hole in my model. Alt, click, unselects, just in case you've been wondering, because they changed that on 3D Studio Max, and it's taken a few people by storm, I think, or surprise, certainly. Okay. It kind of makes it slightly more egg-shaped at the top, however we need the hatch. And I noticed that it wasn't really a perfect sphere anyway with the hatch, so there we go. What can I say? Now, back into bridging mode. Good old bridging mode. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll wonder how you ever did without it. I love you, bridging mode. I can't even remember the first tutorial I used it in. I just remember using it and just being so happy. Because before that I was having to manually create polygons, and I've always been setting out to look for ways to kind of increase the speed of workflow. Because that's what this is all about. You want to be working fast and efficiently. I know the two don't necessarily go hand in hand, but you know, that's what you want. Okay, now for a gap like this at the back, where our lovely engine should be, and isn't, what I can do is just grab these 4 polygons, like that, and I'll just flip them over. So shift and flip, 180 degrees, sorry. Click OK. Reason I'm doing it this way is I need the rounded shape for the twin ion engines that go on the back, just in case you were wondering. So what I'm doing is just getting it nice and close. Just lining it up a little bit, like that. Okay, now I can do some target welds, because they're the same object, so target welds are going to work. See what I mean? Fantastically powerful tool, target weld. Okay, now we've got a few holes in our model that we can hopefully rectify as soon as I can work out where the edge of these darn things is. There it is. No, it isn't. Oh god, don't want to do that then. Oh, there it is, see? Just inside there. So if I've got a target weld now. No, got to be very careful I don't do the wrong one. Oh, you. There we are. Oh, that's one. See, the problem is that this is actually connecting down to here, so I need to go and move it a little teeny weeny bit. Just so that we can select the right vert to weld. Capiche? Isn't that a nice word, capiche? Right, so that leaves us this nice rounded shape at the back here, and we've got this kind of U-boat-like lid going on here. Now what I'm going to do is delete this internal lip here. and instead just, cap this element completely. Reason being, it's a lot easier for me just to work in rounding a shape this way, because it's obviously going to fit with the flow of the rest of the model. So just needs the bevel tool, bring it up and in, up, more in, and then up and slightly more in. Again, not too much though. Okay, like that. And then we have this kind of flat-ish panel at the top here, which I can then adjust to give it slightly more roundness. Like so. Then I'm going to create a lip, so I'll just grow it. And I'm going to detach as an element. Bring it up like that. And then just bridge those two. And voila, we have that part there. Okay, so next, move to the back. And I'm going to look at doing some engines. The engines are basically just quite a simple shape. So, give me a moment while I adjust my chair. So what I'm going to do is bring this back a little bit. Got a nasty cold at the moment, or tummy bug or something. Either way, I'm not enjoying it. And now I'm going to bevel it out a little and down. Bevel tool's way more useful for doing this than most other tools. Make a small lip just here. Then in that. And down. Now then, there's a funky engine shape that goes inside here, so what I'm going to do is just inset a little bit, like that. And you're thinking, well, why? Because I want to connect some of these shapes, that's why. So, we cut from there to there. Really just work with these shapes a bit. It's a bit like working on graph paper if you ever did that as a kid. Don't try and deny it, you probably did. Maybe you even played Dungeons and Dragons. Ooh. Oh dear. Right, so we've got this shape here. Break out of the cut. That gives us this. Then from this I'm going to just go back into bevel again. Okay, and then these all just go straight back so that we can put any glows or anything else that we need to in there. Okay, now I'm going to go back into these again because I like them, but they're not really that deep. It actually goes quite far back with these. There we are. Okay. Now I'm going to try and look over the actual hatch if I can. Now this is all basically ablative plating stuff. It's just a case of building plates onto your model. Before we do anything, I'm going to need to really open, well, not open, but unhide the parts that go on the side, just so that we can see where they go. Okay, now you can see obviously they don't fit quite as well as they were fitting before, unfortunate as it may seem. I'm going to drop that symmetry and then collapse this stack. Just work on one side for the moment, I think. Makes things a little bit tidier. Now, over here, that and that, unhide all. Sorry, hide unselected. Effect pivot only, center to the object. Effect pivot only off, and push this in until it starts to go into the side, yeah? Now we can have it intersecting. It's not really going to give us too much of a heartbreak issue there. However, I do prefer things to lie on top if we're just doing poly on poly methods. So, easiest way of doing that is just to go into here. Just find the piece that we need to move and just keep moving them until it's done. You'll notice we still have intersections. Part of the problem is that if you look now, we've got to avoid bumping our scale, because now it's starting to get uneven the way it's kind of clinging onto the side here, and we really need that level of evenness. So this can be a problem. What I'm going to do as well is, because I've been meaning to for a little while, just grab these. Just use the move tool rather than the select tool rather than select and move tool. Slightly better. Go to the top view and zoom. Because this is basically a fundamental part of the TIE fighter. When the wings get blown off, this is the part that gets left behind with the pilot spinning around in infinity looking a bit sad. So this is the part that we want to keep. And again down here. Okay. Seems to be a lot of dispute about the shape of this, depending on which reference book you're looking at as well. Just kind of aggravating. Yeah, overall I'm not entirely sure about this shape here, so I'm going to unhide all again, come back and grab this part. And this part, hide unselected. I've been getting slightly more and more concerned about this part of late, simply because it's such a fundamental part of the model. So, see what can be done here. Sort it out. Worst case, I can reload from the workbench anyway. Let's beef that up a bit, and because we have, reset its X form. Alright, let's try a slightly different approach here. Get rid of this part. Things always become easy when you do them this sort of way, actually. Now, let's have a look at this. Okay, shape I need to grab is going to go in here, so I'm just going to do a ring and a connect, just to give me that edge there. Then I can start by doing cuts, or even just a swift loop or whatever. Swift loop will probably work better. Bring that forward a little. Now then, I want to cut from there to there, just halfway through, and there to there. Next, I'm going to extrude straight out. Bring these back. To round about there. Go on the inside, select these parts. Bring them in. And I'm going to just flatten them on one axis. Then extrude, like so, just to about there. And then in. Now I'm going to work on this crease a little bit just here. Nice and sharp, that's better. I think before I do that, I better extrude these a little bit higher. To about there, actually. Then I can grab these parts and bring them down a bit. A lot of fiddling going on now. Part of the joy of doing this kind of prototyping is getting to go back and fix things that, in your opinion, aren't working. However, because we're working so rapidly, you can repair it very rapidly. So it all works out quite nicely. There we are. Now then, as we can see, this piece here has now came across okay, so I'll just delete these. I can probably delete these inside pieces for the moment as well, because I don't really need them that badly yet. Just to make sure that these parts are straight. There and there. Yep, they are. That's good. Alright. Next, what I'm going to do, Start filling in some of these gaps. Just use the bridge tool. Get rid of this one. Go to the bridge tool again. That does not want to bridge, it would appear. Try again. No, it doesn't. So if it's not wanting to bridge, we'll just use the connect tool. Oh, I see. Ha ha ha, stupid me. There we are. Bridge. And again. Bridge. Bridge won't work with tries, so you can either create a new edge here and not have a try anymore, or just bridge, or just cap them in for the moment. I'm just going to cap mine. Okay. Down here, get rid of these. There we are. And what I'm going to do now, whilst zooming around my shape randomly, is just bump up this part here once I've capped it. So now obviously I can't just cap this shape, it's not going to work that way. I've got to bridge it really. I'm doing it this way because I want slightly more control than I had. And then a quick ring. Connect. Okay, that works. Next. Just going to use these. Okay, and extrude these back. Or even bevel them if I want to. Starting to get them coming into this part here, which is what I wanted. Now I can get rid of these. I'm going to move this edge here and this edge here. And then I can bring these up. Delete these parts inside. Okay, now I'm going to move these parts back a bit as well, just to give it shape. Alright. Now what I need to do, apart from obviously have some sort of a throat medicine to stop my throat sounding like I'm smoking 1,000,000 cigarettes a day, is let's come down on here. Before I do, I'm going to stick symmetry back on. A couple of areas that need bringing in slightly. As long as I bring these in, you see it'll auto weld them, so. There we go. Okay, now that collapses that part down, and it's certainly a much more efficient shape than it was. Now I'm going to bring these, if I can get my mouse to work properly, bring these back a little bit more. There and there. Okay, now going to my left viewport, I'm going to start getting these parts to actually go in the right place. One there, one there. One there, and one. There. Okay, now I'm going to narrow these a bit so they look more sci-fi, because they won't do if they're big and fat like that. There we are. Okay, now, in order to save us some time, what I can do is just build the part that's going to intersect through here. I don't have auto grid turned on, and that's deliberate. Okay, that gives us this piece here. The piece with no name. Narrow it down a bit. Again, remember we're doing this on only one axis, and because of that we have to be extra careful and make sure that we collapse our stack properly with an X-form modifier on it when we're finished. Bring that inside there. Okay, that works quite nicely. Now what I'm going to do, obviously, is duplicate the rascal. And bring it out the bottom here. Like that. And that gives us this shape instead, which is much more acceptable, I think, than the previous shape was. I know it's a bit of a fart on, but such is life, unfortunately. Now, what we're going to do is unhide all, because we have the issue of it connecting to the wing. So, I'm going to put my wing over there. Now, what we need to do is look at the struts, which are going to be going up and down all over here. Now, this part is, in essence, going to connect to this kind of fixed lumpy thing that goes in here. I don't know what it is. It's some sort of a joist. So, I'm going to start by building it. And this actually contains some of the guns and other things as well, which is kind of cool. And never be put off by a complex shape. Complex shapes can be broken down very, very, very easily. Okay, that's fine. Easiest way to break this down is I'm just going to again use Swift Loop. 1, 2, one there, one there. And then I can start just pulling the shape around the way that I want to. Starting to get a shape that I like. Parts here. And then here. Just really start messing around with the shape as much as I can. Until I'm going to start getting something that kind of fits in with what I want. Let's look at it, see what shape it is. Obviously things are getting kind of messy over here at the minute. There's a lot going on, so you need to be as careful as you possibly can. And basically the mount, it's kind of awkward. I really wish I kept some Star Wars toys. The mount attaches onto this. Now this part here, I really need to be rid of that part there. So we've gone on 41 minutes, so I think I'm going to go and do this mount in the next part. So until we get there, I'll see you in the next part. Bye bye for now.